Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How we
How
doing?
are you, mate?
We gotta.
I'm a bit I'm a bit rushed off my feet, I'll tell you, because I've just literally come from the BAFTAs. So I'm still like in
Oh,
my
hence the
attire.
black tie. Yeah, you're looking
Yeah,
dapper.
yeah, yeah. It was good
Did your
fun.
team win? Did the people you wanted to win?
I don't know because I've been working since then and sending files and doing all this nonsense. I don't even know who's won yet, so I'll find out after I talk to you.
Sorry to pull you away from something so glamorous.
Oh no, I did the glamorous bit. I've done the glamorous bit.
Oh, you did that bit.
Back
Okay.
to reality now.
Right.
Guys, congratulations on the film.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe starting with you, Brittany. I've seen the trailers and everything else. How have you been describing this to friends and family? Because from the trailer, it looks like one thing, but could be something else, and there's a lot of secrets. So how have you been describing it to people that have been curious to see what this is about?
I've kind of been telling people that it is a group of people with altruistic motives and entrepreneurial motives going to rural Texas to film an elevated porno in 1979. And there's themes of Martin's laughing at me. There's
It sounded so highbrow until the P word.
until the P word. Yeah, the porno. But then chaos ensues because we unfortunately are being hosted by two elderly people who do not like how young and sexual we are. And yeah, there's a lot of intricacies there in terms of the theme and what aging does to us and things like that. But I think on a whole, like, it's just a wild ride, and I've been talking to people about how fun it is.
Yeah. So it's a typical Saturday night at the movies then.
Yeah, it's a typical movie, right? It smells like porn and like just those things.
All the hits. Martin, what was your kind of lure to the script when you read the script for the first time? What was it for you that kind of spoke to you and you wanted to get you involved in this one?
I think it was just the clever mixing of the genres. I thought I always read a script and try to see it through the audience's eyes. And I saw the appeal of something that's set in the 70s, has this kind of cool aesthetic, cool factor. I knew the music would be great. And it's in some ways classic horror, yet there's this very comedic element as well, which I actually find quite refreshing. I'm not a big fan of super dark horrors. I find that a bit much, but when it's done tongue-in-cheek in the way that this film is, I knew it would be fun. And also I felt challenged. There's also some real pathos that you start to feel for the elderly couple in the movie. Then that challenged me a lot. I didn't quite expect to have those sorts of thoughts or feelings about characters in a movie like this. So I thought, there was just a lot there that was going to be entertaining. And then when I spoke to the director, Ty, his vision for it was so cinematic, and it was a bit of a no-brainer. I really wanted to be a part of it. And, I just tell people it's like a really fun, sexy, wild romp, and it's outrageous. And, it's sex and violence, but with comedy and pathos, and it has a lot to offer.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ty there, and he's become such a formidable filmmaker in such a short amount of time. I mean, people are really excited to see what he does, and he hasn't made a huge amount of films, but every single time seems to be playing, like you said, with genre and playing with what horror means and all the bits in between. So, what was it like for you guys as actors to be in his world and to work under him and see just how he works and how he makes his movies? Maybe Brittany, I'll pass that to you first.
Yeah, I mean, something that I found really interesting about Ty is how specific he is about every single detail. And he really does work it out in his head as he's writing and as he's prepping. And I think he knows what he wants to a just the most intricate degree. And I think that that's something that as an actor, you do feel held in a world because you know that it's already been thought of and taken care of. And in terms of being a woman in that way, without someone being so specific and without someone being so intricate when it comes to how they're going to shoot it and plan it, that could be taken in a place that's maybe lackadaisical about like shooting a porno and the sexuality of it, but he was so clear about what he wanted and how to make us feel comfortable, that I felt like I was in good hands, and I knew that it was going to be elevated in that way.
Yeah. And Martin, for you, I mean, you both have worked with amazing filmmakers. What distinguishes Ty to some of the other people that you've worked under?
He actually, in some ways, I remember times on the set where I felt that there were similarities between his approach, and it reminded me of working with Gore Verbinski on The Ring, which was also a horror movie. And I felt what was interesting, Gore was very technical, and every shot was so, like Brittany mentioned, it was so specific. And when you turned your head, where your eye line should be was so thought out, because he knew visually exactly what he wanted to create in order to have the right effect on the audience. And I felt Ty had a similar sort of pre-thought out specific idea. And at first that felt challenging, because it was like, oh, I have to do it Ty's way. And that takes a lot of trust, right? Because you're like, oh, but maybe I want to do it my way. But ultimately, you know, having faith and turning it over to Ty and realizing like this guy really knows what movie he's making, it actually gives you some relief and confidence that, like Brittany said, you're in really good hands. And when you see the movie, I'm like, oh, that's why he wanted us to do it that way. You know, he knows exactly when the music's going to come in. He knows exactly when he's going to cut to the next thing. And it was very meticulously planned out.
Yeah. And you've got this wonderful ensemble as well. You've obviously Mia, and then you've got Jenny, who's like becoming an absolute superstar at the minute. So it must be great for you guys. And you've worked with ensembles before, to work with a company of actors like this. You're all in kind of the quote unquote the trenches together. You're bringing Ty's vision to the screen. How much does that kind of help you with your performance, to work with young up and comers, but also kind of seasoned actors? Maybe Martin, I'll come to you first on that one.
I mean, it's great because they're so talented. I think when it's like playing tennis, if you play against someone who's good or better than you, your game rises, you know? And, you know, it's sort of challenging when you're like the old veteran. But, you know, specifically talking to Jenna, you know, it's such a force, such an intellectual, focused young woman, and it was quite inspiring to be around someone who's so young yet so fascinated by the film process. And it's quite exciting to see the way she approaches her work, and what, you know, makes you realize she's going to be around and be a part of this industry for a long time in different facets, you know. So, but definitely it's just makes your job so much easier. And the whole cast was great. You know, we were blessed to have, everyone was so good for their roles and brought so much fun. And I think you really felt that ensemble feeling, you know, on screen.
Was it the same for you, Brittany, as well? I mean, I guess it's impossible to not be affected by working with great ensembles like this.
Oh yeah, and I think that there was ways where all of our characters kind of inherently were facets of us already, and then we sort of like morphed into them as the film went on. I felt like I was a person.
I hope that's not true.
Well, no, like in a way, you were kind of like the group leader in a way, and we looked to you for a lot of things. And I think for me, I started like got everyone together and like texted everyone and made sure everyone was okay. You know, like I think that we all sort of inherently felt a kinship to each other and knew what our characters were, and it kind of was embedded in how the film went on. Which is sometimes useful to creating a well-rounded character. But also, I mean, we did form such a bond because we were a part of this little bubble in the middle of New Zealand, and we just had so much fun. You have to have fun when it's this type of a movie, and we really got to just let loose and also challenge each other, which was really nice.
Yeah. Before you go, I'm going to make you both feel old. I don't mean to this in a discriminatory way, but in a fun way. So this year, Martin, for you, 20 years since The Ring, which I watched last Halloween, and it still holds up. So I just wondered for you, I mean, do you still get asked about making The Ring? Because it's become such that, and obviously the original as well, it becomes such a big kind of staple of modern horror films.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't done a lot of horror movies, but obviously that one sort of broke the mold, at least in Hollywood, right? in Japan, clearly. But yeah, I get asked about it a lot. It's a lot of people's favorite horror movie. So I feel really proud of that and being a part of something that was so new to Hollywood at the time. The question I get the most, and people might ask the same thing about this movie, is like, was it scary making it? Because the effect on the audience is so chilling.
Yeah.
But the same is true for this movie. It wasn't scary at all. It was fun. And like I said, I think Ty, like Gore Verbinski, very technically minded. And so it was almost like dance moves, and there was nothing scary about it at all. So it's quite thrilling to be a part of something that has nothing scary really going on. And then you sit back and watch the final product, and, and you get to see all the scares and see how effective the director was.
Yeah. And for you, Brittany, 10 years of the Bellas, 10 years since the Bellas began, 3 movies, a TV show is coming now, apparently. When you made the first movie, could you foresee it becoming kind of the force that the film and the Bellas themselves have kind of become in that decade since?
No, I mean, I think we all had no idea. I knew it was going to be something special because of how intelligent the comedy was, and I thought it was just going to be a really good movie, but I don't think anybody knows when they're doing something like that it's going to be a franchise and live on in this way. You hope so, but it's been really, I don't know, it's been really great, and I'm honored to be a part of it because it's actually also formed some of my most strong and lasting friendships.
Do you know much about the TV show? Is that something completely different to what you guys done? I've heard rumors of a TV show that might be coming down the pipe, but
we don't really know. I mean, we don't know. We know that like Elizabeth Banks and things like that are involved, but the Bellas, we don't live in Germany. I think that's where it's taking place.
Okay.
Chloe doesn't live in Germany. I'm sure she would love to.
I feel like you should come back like 20 years down the line when you're a little bit older and a little bit more seasoned, and we see you perform again. I think that would be quite fun.
I'll tell him you said that, and I'll get on it.
Yeah, tell all the women. Yeah, tell them all that. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Scott.
Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,